I don't know how I'm going to get through this week. Olivia Harper whispered to herself as she stared at the tiny stack of coins on the worn kitchen counter, the fluorescent light above flickering slightly and casting shadows across her tired face. 6-month-old Lily stirred in her crib behind her, her soft whimpers pulling at Olivia's heart, reminding her that despite the exhaustion, she couldn't let her daughter go hungry. Olivia picked up her phone with trembling hands, typing out a desperate message to James, her brother, knowing he was across town and barely reachable at this hour. I hate to ask again, but I need $40 for Lily's formula. I'll pay you back Friday. She hesitated for a moment, fingers hovering above the send button, a knot of embarrassment tightening in her stomach. Her apartment, modest and cluttered, felt smaller than ever, each ticking second reminding her of the hours she had left before the store closed. With a shaky breath, she hit send and slumped against the counter, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Unbeknownst to Olivia, 3 miles away in the towering glass building of Caldwell Industries, Ethan Caldwell, the 42-year-old billionaire CEO, was reviewing quarterly reports in his corner office when his phone buzzed with an unexpected notification. Expecting another mundane email or a scheduling reminder, Ethan frowned as he read the words on the screen, realizing immediately that the message was not intended for him. The desperation in the lines, the small plea for help, and the mention of a baby caught him off guard, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he found himself pausing, reading and rereading the tiny screen. "Is your baby going to be okay?" he typed, almost without thinking, and hit send, the cursor blinking as he waited for a reply. Olivia's eyes widened when her phone buzzed again, and she nearly dropped it, realizing she had mistakenly sent the message to someone completely unknown. Horror and mortification washed over her as she quickly typed back, "I think you have the wrong number. I'm so sorry." But Ethan, sensing the urgency and vulnerability behind the few words, didn't just dismiss it. His reply came, almost immediately, calm but curious. "I might not be James, but I want to help. What kind of formula does your baby need?" Olivia stared at the screen, frozen, her mind racing through every possible outcome and fearing every worst-case scenario. The voice in her head shouted caution, yet somewhere deep inside, a flicker of hope ignited. She typed cautiously, trying to balance gratitude with disbelief. "It's Lily. She's 6 months old, and she has colic. This brand, it's expensive, but it's the only one that works." A moment of silence stretched across the airwaves before Ethan responded, this time offering assistance without conditions. "I'll take care of it. Don't worry about paying me back." Tears blurred Olivia's vision as she realized that someone she didn't know, someone with the power to dismiss her request entirely, had chosen instead to reach out and ease the pressure on her weary shoulders. The sense of shame and relief collided within her as she typed a short, trembling, "Thank you," knowing that the kindness she had not anticipated would change the rest of her day. Meanwhile, Ethan leaned back in his leather chair, watching the city lights glimmer through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a faint smile crossing his face as he considered the weight of that small, accidental interaction, sensing that in the midst of desperation, a connection had been made that neither of them could have predicted, and the story between them was only just beginning. Olivia Harper carried the small paper bag filled with Lily's formula and a few groceries out of the corner store, her heart still racing from the unexpected exchange. The crisp evening air of downtown New York bit at her cheeks as she balanced the bag in one hand and held Lily snugly in her other arm, the baby cooing softly against her shoulder. She could not help glancing at her phone, expecting perhaps a curt message of rejection, but instead saw another notification from the unknown number. Hesitant, she unlocked her phone and read the words that made her stop mid-step. "I have arranged for the formula to be delivered regularly for the next month. There is something else I would like to discuss if you have time." Olivia swallowed hard, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension tightening in her chest. She had never spoken to this person before, and yet the concern in his words felt strangely personal, almost as if he had known her circumstances for much longer than a brief text exchange could allow. Walking the 3 blocks to her small apartment, she found herself replaying the interaction over and over in her mind, wondering how a stranger could exhibit such foresight and kindness. Meanwhile, in his penthouse office high above the bustling city, Ethan Caldwell leaned back in his chair, watching the tail lights of cars streak across the streets below. The meeting he had been preparing for earlier seemed distant now, overshadowed by the image of a young mother struggling to provide for her child, the vulnerability in her messages lingering with him. He could not explain why a simple text had struck such a chord, yet he felt compelled to continue the exchange, to know more about the situation and the child who had captured his attention without him even intending it. Back in her apartment, Olivia gently set Lily down in her crib and sat on the edge of the couch, her fingers drumming lightly against the worn fabric as she contemplated the sudden and unexplained generosity. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message. "Would you be available to speak briefly? I want to ensure everything is in order and discuss a few options that might make things easier for both of you." Olivia hesitated, debating whether to respond, yet something in the phrasing, the calm and deliberate nature of the words, invited trust rather than fear. She typed slowly, carefully choosing her words. "Yes, I can speak now. Please call me." Within moments, her phone rang, and she answered, the voice on the other end smooth and authoritative, yet tempered with warmth, saying, "This is Ethan Caldwell. I hope I am not intruding, but I wanted to check on Lily and see if there is any way I can assist further." Olivia's heart fluttered, and she found herself momentarily tongue-tied, not expecting such direct concern, yet relieved at the civility and sincerity behind the voice. She took a deep breath, explaining briefly Lily's feeding schedule and her struggles keeping up with the various appointments and limited funds. Ethan listened attentively, asking practical questions about timing, availability, and the brands that worked best, each word revealing a careful attention to detail and a willingness to step into the situation without overstepping. By the end of the call, Olivia felt a cautious sense of hope, the heaviness she had carried for weeks lifting slightly, replaced by a fragile reassurance that someone had seen her struggle and responded not with judgment, but with action. Ethan hung up the phone in his office, staring out at the city once more, feeling a surprising sense of connection to the tiny apartment and the mother within it, knowing that this accidental text had started a chain of events that neither of them could have predicted, and yet he felt certain that he needed to follow through, to ensure that the child at the center of it all was cared for, and that Olivia Harper would not have to face the next week alone. The next morning, Olivia Harper awoke to the soft cooing of Lily from her crib, sunlight filtering through the thin curtains and casting a warm glow across the modest living room. The events of the previous evening replayed in her mind, each word from Ethan Caldwell resonating with a mixture of disbelief and cautious hope. She carefully lifted Lily from the crib, the baby yawning and stretching, tiny fists curling against her mother's shoulder. Olivia moved to the kitchen to prepare a quick breakfast, her movements automatic yet measured, mindful of the little one in her arms. As she placed a small bowl of oatmeal on the table and settled Lily into her high chair, her phone buzzed again. With a small sigh, she picked it up and saw Ethan's name displayed on the screen, a simple message reading, "I arranged for the next delivery of formula to arrive today around noon. I also have a few suggestions that may help make feeding easier. Can we talk for 5 minutes?" Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the reply button, before typing back carefully, "Yes, I will. Be ready." The minutes felt longer than usual, each second accentuated by the soft sounds of Lily exploring her breakfast, tiny hands knocking at the bowl with curious determination. When the call connected, Ethan's voice was calm and considerate, a subtle authority underlying every word. He asked about the brand of formula, the feeding schedule, and gently inquired about any difficulties Olivia might be facing. Olivia explained her routine, noting the limited help she had and the challenges of balancing work, appointments, and a baby who occasionally resisted the bottle. Ethan listened attentively, occasionally offering practical solutions, such as setting up recurring deliveries and connecting her with a nutritionist who could provide guidance on colic-friendly options. Olivia could not help but notice the genuine care behind his questions, each one grounded in practicality and concern rather than intrusion or judgment. After a few minutes, the conversation turned to logistics, discussing how the deliveries would be coordinated and confirming her availability, Ethan emphasizing that he wanted to ensure both she and Lily would have what they needed without additional stress. As the call ended, Olivia set the phone down, a wave of relief washing over her as she watched Lily reach for her spoon, momentarily distracted by the comfort of routine. Outside her apartment, the streets hummed with the rhythm of the morning commute, cars moving steadily, pedestrians navigating the sidewalks with purposeful steps, and Olivia felt a renewed sense of possibility, small but significant, knowing that someone powerful had recognized her struggle and chosen to respond with action. She returned to her preparations for the day, gathering notes for an upcoming assignment while keeping one eye on Lily, her mind quietly reflecting on the unexpected connection that had formed overnight. For Ethan Caldwell, the day continued in his penthouse, yet his thoughts remained partly with the small apartment 3 miles away, the image of a tired yet determined mother managing her responsibilities, the sound of a baby's laughter echoing in his mind as he considered the next steps, a growing anticipation of meeting them in person and seeing how his support could extend beyond messages and deliveries. The chain of events, accidental as it had begun, was unfolding with a gentle but insistent momentum, each interaction building anticipation and deepening the emotional resonance between them, leaving both Olivia and Ethan aware that their lives had shifted in a meaningful way that neither had fully anticipated yet both were beginning to embrace. By mid-morning, Olivia Harper had managed to settle Lily into her playpen, the baby busy with a small rattle, while Olivia quickly scanned through a stack of unpaid bills, her mind juggling the tasks of the day with a cautious excitement at the unexpected support she had received. Her phone vibrated against the countertop, and she glanced down to see another message from Ethan Caldwell. The words were simple, yet carried a deliberate thoughtfulness. "I have arranged for a courier to deliver some additional formula and diapers later today. I also thought it might be useful to discuss some ideas for long-term assistance. Would you be open to a brief meeting this afternoon?" Olivia felt a mixture of hesitation and curiosity. She had never met this man, yet his consistent concern and tangible help had built a fragile trust that she was cautiously willing to explore. After a brief moment, she typed back, "Yes, I can meet. Where would be convenient for you?" Ethan's reply was prompt and unassuming, suggesting a quiet cafe nearby, a location neutral yet easily accessible. She bundled Lily in a light coat, making sure her daughter was secure in her stroller, and left the apartment, her steps quick but careful, mindful of traffic and the chilly breeze brushing against her cheeks. Arriving at the cafe 15 minutes later, Olivia found a corner table near the window, allowing her to keep an eye on the street while keeping Lily close. Moments later, Ethan Caldwell entered, his presence commanding yet unobtrusive, dressed in a tailored navy suit that emphasized his height and poise without ostentation. He approached the table with a measured smile, nodding politely before sitting across from Olivia, his eyes briefly settling on Lily with a warmth that belied his reserved demeanor. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, his tone calm and professional, yet tinged with genuine concern. Olivia returned a polite nod, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves. "I appreciate you taking the time. This is a lot to coordinate." Ethan leaned forward slightly, maintaining an appropriate distance while exuding attentiveness. "I wanted to ensure that everything you and Lily need is taken care of, and I thought discussing some options in person might be more efficient than through messages." Olivia explained the current routine, including feeding times, Lily's preferences, and the challenges of managing everything alone. Ethan listened intently, occasionally asking clarifying questions, each one reflecting both a practical approach and an underlying empathy. The conversation remained professional yet comfortable, gradually revealing to Olivia that his interest was rooted not in curiosity alone, but in a sincere desire to help. Outside, the streets bustled with the lunchtime crowd, but within the cafe, a quiet bubble seemed to separate them from the world, allowing them to focus on the practicalities at hand and the subtle nuances of trust forming between them. By the end of the meeting, Ethan had coordinated a reliable delivery schedule, discussed potential assistance with childcare services, and offered guidance on resources that Olivia had not previously considered. She felt a tangible relief settle over her, realizing that the initial accidental connection had transformed into something actionable and meaningful, leaving her with a renewed sense of stability and the comforting knowledge that someone with the means and inclination to help had stepped forward, turning what had started as a simple mistake into the first step of an unexpected but promising alliance. By the afternoon, Olivia Harper had returned home. Lily settled for her usual nap, and the apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Olivia sank into the couch, her mind spinning with the events of the day, the conversation with Ethan Caldwell still fresh in her memory. She could not believe how quickly the accidental text had escalated into a series of thoughtful interventions, each one carefully coordinated to make her life just a little easier. A knock at the door startled her, and she hurried to answer it, finding a small package and an envelope neatly placed on the doorstep. She picked them up, feeling a mixture of curiosity and gratitude, and carried them inside, setting Lily safely in her playpen while she examined the contents. The package contained a supply of the baby formula she had requested, neatly organized and labeled with instructions and tips for feeding, while the envelope held a note, written in clear, deliberate handwriting. I wanted to ensure that this first week went smoothly. There will be additional deliveries scheduled automatically, and I would like to discuss a few ideas to help ease your daily routine. Olivia's fingers trembled slightly as she read the note, her mind racing through the implications of someone going to such lengths, and she felt a growing sense of connection to the unknown helper who had taken such thoughtful action. She sat down at the small kitchen table, carefully opening the envelope to reveal additional suggestions for childcare support, emergency contacts, and even recommendations for local resources she had not considered, each note practical and considerate, designed to empower her rather than make her feel indebted. The afternoon passed in a quiet rhythm, Olivia preparing bottles, feeding Lily, and organizing the apartment, all the while reviewing the notes and planning how she might implement some of the suggestions. Despite the exhaustion, a sense of relief settled over her, replacing the anxiety and stress that had been her constant companions. As she worked, her phone buzzed again with another message from Ethan Caldwell. I hope everything arrived safely. I would like to schedule a brief call to review the deliveries and discuss additional support options. Olivia paused, staring at the message, then smiled faintly, her heart lifting at the consistency of his attention. She replied, everything arrived perfectly. I would be happy to speak this evening. For the next few hours, she went about her tasks with a renewed energy, feeling a subtle shift in the atmosphere of her apartment, as if the small actions coordinated by someone who had once been a stranger had transformed her home into a place where she could breathe a little easier. Outside, the city continued its busy pace, the distant sounds of traffic and pedestrians providing a constant reminder of the world beyond her walls. Yet within that small space, Olivia Harper felt a growing reassurance, a fragile but undeniable sense of being seen and supported. As evening approached and Lily stirred awake, Olivia prepared a bottle and rocked her gently, reflecting on the series of events that had begun with a single, accidental text. The thought that someone in a position of influence had taken notice of her struggle and chosen to act with both care and discretion filled her with a cautious hope. She knew the days ahead would still hold challenges, but for the first time in weeks, she felt that she was not entirely alone, and that the bond, however unexpected, between herself, her daughter, and the stranger who had reached out was beginning to shape a new and promising chapter in her life. The next morning, Olivia Harper awoke to the soft, rhythmic breathing of Lily, her tiny hands reaching out as if already aware of the new day. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains, warming the small apartment with a gentle glow. Olivia carefully lifted Lily from the crib, cradling her daughter close while the baby cooed in contentment, and made her way to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. As she set a small bowl of oatmeal on the table and placed Lily in her high chair, her phone vibrated again with a new message from Ethan Caldwell. She opened it cautiously, reading the words, I hope Lily is doing well this morning. I would like to discuss a potential long-term arrangement that could make your daily routine easier. Are you available for a brief call today? Olivia felt a mixture of surprise and apprehension. The consistency of his support was unexpected, and the thought of further interaction made her pulse quicken. After a brief pause, she typed back, Yes, I can talk this morning. She settled Lily safely, the baby babbling happily while Olivia prepared for the conversation, taking a deep breath to steady herself. Moments later, her phone rang, and she answered, hearing Ethan's calm and reassuring voice, full of professionalism yet underlined by a genuine concern. He asked about the formula deliveries, inquired if Lily had experienced any issues, and offered thoughtful suggestions for adjusting schedules and routines to make the feeding process smoother and less stressful for both mother and child. Olivia explained her daily pattern, including nap times, feeding intervals, and the challenges of balancing work and childcare alone. Ethan listened attentively, occasionally repeating details to ensure he fully understood, asking practical questions without prying, demonstrating an awareness of her autonomy while offering guidance. The conversation progressed naturally, each question and suggestion layered with a subtle empathy that made Olivia feel seen and supported rather than evaluated. She found herself speaking freely about the difficulties she faced, knowing that the responses were measured and constructive, designed to provide relief rather than criticism. As the call concluded, Ethan confirmed the schedule for regular deliveries, suggested additional resources for childcare and local support services, and offered to remain in contact to ensure that both Olivia and Lily were adequately supported. Olivia felt a quiet reassurance settle over her, a sense of relief tempered with a cautious optimism that perhaps she would not have to face the next weeks entirely alone. She set the phone aside and turned her attention back to Lily, who was now exploring her high chair with curious determination. Outside, the city moved with its usual rhythm, traffic humming along the streets, pedestrians walking briskly past the apartment complex, yet inside the small space, a gentle calm had taken hold. Olivia Harper, despite the ongoing challenges, felt a budding sense of stability and connection, the accidental interaction that had begun with a single mistaken message now unfolding into a tangible support system, each thoughtful action and considerate word strengthening a fragile trust and slowly reshaping the contours of their unexpected relationship. In his office, Ethan Caldwell glanced at the city skyline, reflecting on the conversation, aware that the small but deliberate steps he had taken had initiated a chain of events that could alter both their lives. And a quiet anticipation lingered as he considered the possibility of meeting Olivia and Lily in person to continue providing support and solidifying the bond that had begun with nothing more than an accidental text. By late afternoon, Olivia Harper had finished her household tasks, carefully arranging Lily's toys and feeding supplies in neat order, the small apartment now feeling slightly more organized and calm than it had in weeks. The sun slanted through the windows, casting a warm glow across the living room, and Lily was now perched in her playpen, clapping her tiny hands as she played with a colorful rattle. Olivia's phone buzzed again, and she glanced at the screen to see a message from Ethan Caldwell. "I have arranged for someone to deliver a few additional items tomorrow morning. I would also like to check if you are available for a short meeting this evening to discuss any further support you might need." She paused, her fingers hovering above the keyboard as a mixture of anticipation and nervousness filled her chest. After a moment, she typed back, "Yes, I am available. Thank you for checking." She set the phone down and took a deep breath, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a day in which her challenges had been eased by someone she did not yet know fully, but whose concern was evident in each thoughtful action. As evening approached, Olivia prepared a small dinner for herself and Lily, the scent of warm soup filling the apartment, a reminder of the normalcy she strived to maintain despite the whirlwind of recent events. When the scheduled time arrived, she received a knock at the door, and a delivery person arrived with a small package and a few essentials that Ethan had arranged, leaving them neatly on the doorstep. Olivia carefully carried them inside, feeling a growing sense of gratitude and curiosity about the man who had taken such care in organizing these deliveries. After setting the package down, she settled into her chair with Lily on her lap, the baby cooing softly as Olivia examined the contents. The attention to detail in each item, from carefully measured formula portions to notes suggesting optimal feeding times and tips for soothing, conveyed not only practicality, but also a sense of thoughtful observation, as if the person behind it had considered the needs of both mother and child in depth. Later that evening, Olivia sat with her phone in hand, dialing the number Ethan had provided for the meeting. When he answered, his voice carried the same calm and measured warmth, asking how the deliveries had gone and if there were any remaining concerns or questions. Olivia explained briefly, mentioning a few small adjustments that could make the schedule easier and noting the challenges of balancing work and childcare, her words careful yet honest. Ethan responded with suggestions, each one precise and considerate, offering solutions without imposing, his attentiveness apparent in every sentence. The conversation concluded with Ethan confirming that he would continue monitoring the deliveries and providing support as needed, ensuring that Olivia and Lily had both stability and reassurance in the coming days. Once the call ended, Olivia set the phone aside, feeling a quiet sense of relief and the beginnings of trust forming in her mind, a subtle shift from apprehension to cautious optimism. She turned her attention to Lily, who was now exploring her playpen with bright eyes and joyful movements, and Olivia allowed herself a small, genuine smile, recognizing that the series of thoughtful actions and careful communication had begun to create a foundation of support she had not expected, and that this unexpected connection, born from a single accidental message, was now steadily evolving into something that might change the rhythm of their daily lives in ways both practical and emotionally reassuring. The following afternoon, Olivia Harper found herself seated at the small kitchen table, Lily happily playing on the floor beside her with a stack of colorful blocks, the sound of their gentle clatter filling the apartment with a sense of normalcy. The morning deliveries had arrived on schedule, neatly organized and thoughtfully labeled, and Olivia could not help but feel a growing sense of relief and gratitude for the consistency and care that had been extended to her and her daughter. Her phone buzzed again, signaling a message from Ethan Caldwell. "I will be stopping by later this evening to ensure everything is running smoothly and to discuss a few additional suggestions. Please let me know if that time works for you." Olivia hesitated for a moment, a flutter of nervousness rising in her chest, before replying, "Yes, that works. Thank you for checking." She set the phone down and glanced at Lily, who was now stacking the blocks carefully, a small, determined smile on her face. As the hours passed, Olivia went about her routine, preparing light snacks, tidying the apartment, and making sure everything was in order for Ethan's visit, her mind racing with anticipation and cautious curiosity. When the doorbell finally rang, she opened the door to find Ethan standing there, composed yet approachable, holding a small bag containing some additional supplies and a few notes with practical suggestions. He greeted her with a polite nod, his eyes briefly meeting Lily's with a soft warmth before turning to Olivia. "Good afternoon, Olivia," he said, his voice calm and deliberate. "I thought I would bring these by personally and discuss a few ways we might make your daily schedule a little easier." Olivia invited him in, feeling a mixture of nervousness and gratitude, and together they moved to the living area, Lily crawling over to Ethan and offering a tiny hand in greeting, which he accepted with a gentle smile. As they settled at the table, Ethan reviewed the schedule of deliveries and the current routine, listening carefully as Olivia explained her challenges with feeding times, nap schedules, and balancing work responsibilities with childcare. He offered thoughtful adjustments, practical suggestions, and resources she had not considered, all delivered with a measured respect for her independence and decision-making. Olivia found herself responding openly, realizing that his questions were designed not to impose, but to provide support and reassurance. The conversation flowed naturally, practical and considerate, building a quiet trust between them. After discussing schedules and confirming future arrangements, Ethan placed a reassuring hand briefly on the back of a chair, giving Olivia a sense of steady support without overstepping boundaries. He then smiled lightly at Lily, engaging her with a small game of peekaboo that elicited giggles, the sound echoing warmly in the apartment. As he prepared to leave, Ethan confirmed that he would remain in contact to ensure that both Olivia and Lily had what they needed, and Olivia felt a gentle sense of optimism and security settle over her. Watching him walk to the door, she realized that the accidental text from days ago had now unfolded into a relationship of thoughtful guidance and consistent support, the simple act of reaching out having transformed into a tangible presence that offered both practical help and emotional reassurance. As the door closed behind him, Olivia returned to her seat, Lily resting against her shoulder, and allowed herself to quietly acknowledge that the days ahead, though still challenging, would now be met with a sense of connection and support she had not anticipated, a subtle but profound shift that promised hope and stability for both her and her daughter. As the evening shadows stretched across the small apartment, Olivia Harper sat with Lily nestled against her chest, the baby's gentle breathing a soothing rhythm that contrasted with the whirlwind of the past few days. The sun had dipped behind the buildings, leaving a warm amber glow that filtered through the curtains, painting the room in soft hues. Olivia's phone buzzed once more, and she saw a message from Ethan Caldwell. "If it is convenient, I would like to stop by tomorrow to review the upcoming schedule and to meet Lily in person. I believe it will help coordinate support more effectively." Olivia felt a flutter of nerves mixed with anticipation. She replied cautiously, "That will be fine. I appreciate your willingness to help." She set the phone down and watched Lily explore the carpet with curious determination, her tiny hands reaching for colorful toys scattered across the floor. Later that night, Olivia carefully prepared bottles for the next day, making sure everything was organized and accessible, a sense of calm determination settling over her as she reflected on how a single message had transformed into a reliable support system. The following morning, Olivia awoke to the soft sounds of the city, sunlight spilling into the apartment as she prepared Lily for the day. She packed a small bag with essentials and placed the baby in her stroller, heading toward the cafe Ethan had suggested for their meeting. The streets buzzed with activity, pedestrians moving quickly along the sidewalks and the occasional honk of traffic punctuating the morning air. Arriving at the cafe, Olivia found a quiet corner, allowing Lily to explore safely while she waited. Ethan Caldwell arrived promptly, his presence calm and authoritative yet approachable, carrying a small notebook and a briefcase with neatly organized documents. He greeted Olivia with a measured smile, his eyes briefly meeting Lily's with a gentle warmth before focusing on Olivia. "Good morning, Olivia. I hope everything has been going smoothly," he said, his tone professional yet tinged with genuine concern. Olivia returned the greeting, a mixture of nervousness and appreciation threading through her words. As they settled at the table, Ethan reviewed the current delivery schedule, the practical adjustments she had implemented, and offered additional suggestions for streamlining her routine, including potential support resources and ways to manage unexpected challenges. Olivia responded with thoughtful questions, clarifying details and sharing her observations about what worked best for Lily, while Ethan listened attentively, offering solutions that were considerate and actionable without overstepping. The conversation, practical and grounded, fostered a quiet trust between them, each suggestion from Ethan showing a measured understanding of her needs and limitations. After a thorough discussion, Ethan turned his attention to Lily, engaging the baby with gentle conversation and playful gestures that elicited laughter and delighted squeals, the sound brightening the atmosphere and bridging the gap between formality and personal connection. Before leaving, Ethan confirmed that he would continue coordinating deliveries and providing guidance as necessary, leaving Olivia with a renewed sense of security and optimism. Watching him exit the cafe, Olivia reflected on the remarkable turn of events, the accidental message having blossomed into a meaningful and tangible support network. She returned to her seat with Lily, a quiet smile forming as she realized that although the challenges of single motherhood remained, she now had a reliable presence to help navigate the journey, and the unexpected connection that had begun as a simple mistake was now steadily shaping a new chapter filled with hope, reassurance, and the promise of continued guidance and care.